Welcome to the Nothing About Us Without Us Drivers Speak conference. Our conference is strategically scheduled to coincide with World Mental Health Awareness Day on October 10th. This global event emphasizes the importance of mental health and well-being, making our conference a timely and relevant initiative. By focusing on mental health impacts of child psychological abuse, we aim to foster greater awareness and understanding among professionals, survivors, and the general public. True healing begins when we listen to the silence of those who have endured the deepest pain. Together, we transform their whispers into a powerful call for change.
Patty, you have been silent, and I'll tell you what, everybody, Patty is from New York, and so to have her silent, she kept herself on mute. So Patricia Freudenberg, Patty, as we know her, our lovely Patty. She's a certified end-of-life coach and human rights consultant, co-host of the Presidential Magazine podcast. Patty is the principal owner of Miss You Grand, and groundbreaking social network app that supports individuals in transforming grief into resilience. She is also a certified end-of-life coach, certified human rights consultant, providing invaluable support and guidance to individuals navigating through difficult life transitions. And she is the first generation American dedicated to the global humanitarian efforts. There is so much more. You know, you're a board member of the United States Presidential Service Center, and you are the host of Goodbye, I Love You on Presents Network, and that's presentsnetwork.com. And I feel that she is just above and beyond. So Patty, would you be so kind as to share with us your story, and I'm going to let you take it away, my dear.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you to Dawn and everybody who contributed to this amazing event. And it's an honor to come in after Dr. Childress, because I mean, at the very end, when he spoke about, the grief part, I mean, that's really my lane. And I love that because he's a doctor. Now, I am a certified coach, and I do have over 35 years, occupational with license, New York State license under human resources. However, having a doctor like him come in and speak on the importance of managing grief, that is something, we're all going to face to some level or another, especially under this umbrella, talking about parent alienation and child psychological abuse. So let me back it up a little bit. My name is Patty from New York. My formal name is Patricia Freudenberg, and I'm going to share a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm going to start macro and I'm going to go into micro. I'm going to do a little reverse engineering here. I just want to share a few things as a human rights consultant, because I am such an advocate for people's rights, especially children or adult survivors. I really wanted to take matters into my own hands, and what else can I do? So I just want to share a few of the articles under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which are very special to me, and I always like to bring to attention. Article 18, which is your freedom of thoughts, conscience, and religion. Article 19, freedom to express your opinion. Article 29, you have a responsibility to respect other people's rights. And this one is, I think, really just as important as the first one. Article 30, our human rights shall not be taken away. So this is really important because when it comes to kids, where do they fall under the human rights? So now the United Nations has started to hear the children's voice, and they are starting to broaden their horizons. So I'm happy to talk about that. I'm gonna talk. My story is very dynamic. I believe a lot of us have that in common. It's convoluted. I believe a lot of us have that in common too. However, it's my truth. I do want to honor and protect some of the living members because, it seems to be that sometimes you can live under the same roof, and you're telling two completely different stories, because everybody's affected differently, and we have to honor that. So out of respect to not insult or hurt or damage anybody's name, I may not give details on their name or status in my family, just out of that respect. I am really proud to reclaim my name, though, because I would say for a good half of my life or more, I had a different story, and it's about reclaiming your story. So, trauma has become my superpower. And like Dr. Childress was saying, which you were, I think, just sharing, Dawn, was, you become a facilitator when you are doing that damage control between the parents. However, I became a great negotiator. So, in hindsight, as a victor, as a survivor, as a thriver, it gave me a superpower to negotiate and facilitate when there's two parties that, can't seem to collaborate. I want to share a little bit about my book, and then I'm going to read a couple of the pages out of the one and only, let me see, do I have it here? The one and only best-selling international book. I will be reading a little bit about that, and then I'll get into a little bit into the micro of a little bit of my detailed stories. But the reason why I want to bring up my first book I wrote, which is Live Your Legacy, I'm going to slow down a little bit because I get very excited and passionate about what I do. So I do speak quite quick. I'm going to slow it down a little bit, but I just want to reference this book because it's important as a thriver and a survivor. Now, this is a book when you're ready to take matters into your own hands. And I'm reading this one page because the last part is really, really important. So I want to read this because I find it to be very important. And it might seem like, oh, that's that's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And then you'll know why when I'm done reading. This is just one page over here. Oh, 1.5 pages. Mindset matters, literally and figuratively. If someone you love is approaching death or has died, breathe deeply. Now read on. And why is breath so, and I'm just going to go off the sidebar right here for a quick second since I'm speaking, that, that could be just read right through and not be paid attention to. But if you are looking for recovery and you purchase this guidebook, because it's a guidebook, there's nothing new under the sun. There might be just different perspectives to approach your grief and recovery. However, a lot of people take breath for granted. Okay, so even in the oh my gosh, I'm having brain jam. The CDC, that they talk about the box breathing. And again, I'm not a doctor. I just learned this by reading through other medical resources that breathing, my dog seems to be excited too, that breathing, when you breathe through your nose, it's nitrogen, and nitrogen like actually is going to bring oxygen to all your main organs, including your brain, which helps you rational thinking. So if you are experiencing anxiety, you want to breathe through your nose, not just breathe through your nose, but any breath is going to already bring oxygen back to your important organs like your heart and your brain, because naturally when we get stressed out or anxious or nervous or scared, it's the fight or flight, and then we can't make rational decisions. So that's why I say breathe deeply and now read on. There is no doubt that in this tumultuous and emotional time, immediately and months after and years following the death of a loved one, there are vast numbers of decisions to be made and a mountain of tasks complete. Live your legacy by transforming pain into power and purpose. This guidebook provides a variety of techniques to overcome adversity and live a life to be remembered. Dare to believe and witness the extraordinary power of your mind. And I'm just going to finish with this last one. I'm not even going to go into the other couple of paragraphs. Bear in mind, this is the important part. Bear in mind that there are professionals who do this daily. If you are unsure of what to do in any given situation, then seek medical professionals for counseling. So, people like me are great. People like me are great, but a lot of times you need to have maybe both, or you know, solely medical until you feel like you could take matters into your own hands. So that's why I wanted to read that. Thank you for letting me go into that a little bit. Okay. And I want to now share a little bit of my writing in the book. And then I'm going to share a couple of points that really, after doing research, after coming to terms of what I went through and recovered from, I was able to have the right mindset to now get informed, educated, and help others. Because if you're in it, you're not going to be much help. You have to be at least 1 foot into recovery before you start helping others. Again, when you bond with others through the same experience, that helps as peer to peer, but you also have to be careful that it doesn't become, I believe, Dawn, was that triangular? Right? That could cause that to happen. So you want to be mindful that you don't stay in a peer to peer situation where you're just staying there, though. You want to be able to take action and recover and help, and then help others. So I'm going to read my chapter. And again, I keep it on the general side, like I mentioned before, to protect those who just can't handle it. And I also want to disclose that, I almost feel like imposter syndrome when I wrote this book, because when I wrote this chapter, because a lot of people, most people, um, saw my life completely differently than it really was. And I believe, Dawn, you mentioned this. I don't want to take your story away, but it's almost like living a double life, a double life. And it was really, it gives you these feelings of like, you know, just, I don't know. It's like when you feel like your life is a secret, then you become like kind of like feeling like these yucky feelings. They're yucky feelings, and when I started to recognize why I'm feeling this, and what caused this, and I started speaking, I created this chapter titled "I'm Speaking Now," and this is my truth. Now I'm gonna cry. Um, the introduction: the power of voice and choice. The act of speaking, of voicing our truth, is profound exercise in reclaiming our narrative. As the author of the book Live Your Legacy, A New Spin on Mourning, I have explored these themes extensively, offering a fresh perspective on grief and loss. This chapter delves into the journey of finding and using our voice, particularly in the context of parental alienation and grief. It is a journey marked by choice, the choice to acknowledge pain, seek healing, and live our legacy. As a keynote speaker, I had the privilege of addressing audiences on various topics, including the complex and often heartbreaking issues of parental alienation. Drawing from both personal experience and professional insight, I aim to empower others to find their voice and reclaim their narrative in the face of adversity. Parental alienation, the silent struggle. In my keynote speech on parental alienation, I explore a silent epidemic affecting countless families. Parental alienation is the process where one parent manipulates a child to reject the other parent, causing profound emotional and psychological harm. This topic resonates deeply with me and mirrors a personal experience, though I won't use specific names here, as I mentioned. The alienation process creates a devastating rift, leaving the affected parent feeling powerless and isolated. The first step towards healing is recognizing the situation's reality. Speaking out, seeking help, and acknowledging the harm done are acts of courage. just like this book. Oh, okay.
Breathe,
These
breathe.
actions, breathe. I'm going to take my own advice. Breathe. Thank you, Dawn. These actions allow parents and children to reclaim their narrative, breaking free from the silence imposed on them. The pain of being alienated from a child is indescribable, filled with feelings of shame, guilt, and confusion. The same with keeping a secret, by the way. The shame often stems from societal expectations of parenthood and the stigma associated with familiar discord. Yeah, that part. The burden of shame and feeling stuck. I know it way too well. The experience of parental alienation often brings overwhelming sense of shame and feeling of stuck. Shame is a powerful emotion convincing us that we are somehow at fault for our situation and that we are inadequate as parents or as child survivors. This shame can lead us to paralyzing sense of stuckness where it feels impossible to move forward or to find a solution. In my own story, there were times when the weight of shame was nearly unbearable. And I'll talk about that when I'm done with this. It felt like being trapped in a dark tunnel, unable to see a way out. The feeling of stuckness was exacerbated by a lack of understanding and support from others. And also because it was a secret. People having experienced parental alienation often struggle. People who haven't experienced parental alienation often struggle to grasp its complexities, its complexities, and deep emotional and deep emotional toll it takes. Oh yeah, and that's what I said. I'm just going to do a sidebar right here. The stories are convoluted when you are in these situations. They're not so black and white all the time. Maybe sometimes they are in divorce cases, but when it's generational, it gets complicated. As my story, I'm going to go back to reading Finding the Light, The Journey to Recovery. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, a path to recovery that requires active participation. Recovery begins with the recognition that we have the power to change our circumstances, even if that change is internal rather than external. It involves acknowledging our emotions, seeking support, and choosing to move forward despite the pain. And again, another sidebar, I just want to share that you might notice in my writings, in my articles, in my newsletters, I talk a lot about these words: choosing, choice, action. Okay? Because those are things that are going to make the difference. Choices, choosing, action. Okay. Recovery is not a passive process, it requires deliberate action and effort. The journey is about more than just healing from the past, it's about actively creating a new future. And again, this is your narrative. It's about understanding that while we cannot control others' actions, we can control our responses and our healing journey. This process often involves setting boundaries, seeking therapy, or counseling and engaging in self care practices. Again, medical attention, a lot of times, I would say the majority of times, is not only it's essential, it's essential and a lot of times mandatory, because some people are so emotionally affected that they are diseased with stuff that requires medication to correct, because they're so out of control with their emotions that they don't even know how to even take the first step. So a medical professional will be the best person to give you step one. The role of choice in healing and legacy. In my work as an end of life coach, I emphasize the importance of choice in navigating life's challenges. Whether dealing with parental alienation or grief, Our choices shape our journey. We can choose to remain stuck in pain or actively seek healing and growth. This concept is central to the idea of living your legacy, where we take the lessons and values imparted by our loved ones and apply them into our own lives. Living your legacy is about more than just honoring the memory of those we lost. It's about embodying their values and continuing their impact. It's a call to action, encouraging us to live authentically and purposefully. In my blog post, I've discussed the importance of taking matters into your own hands, understanding our capabilities, and acting within them. This involves discerning what we can and cannot, and focusing on energy and areas where we can make a difference. Allowing and permission, building a new narrative. A reoccurring theme in my work is the concept of allowing and permission. And this is true. I'm always talking about that. Often, the greatest barriers to speaking our truth and healing are the ones we place on ourselves, what comes out of our mouth, especially if you're an adult. We may feel unworthy, afraid, and simply unsure of how to begin. Yet the power to start anew lies within us. Giving ourselves permission to feel, speak, and change is crucial steps in this process. This permission is not about seeking external validation. It's about internal acceptance. It's about recognizing our right to vote, our experience, set boundaries, and pursue a life that reflects ourselves, our true selves. In doing so, we create a new narrative, a story where we are not defined by our past, but empowered by our choices. Taking matters into your own hands. In one of my recent posts, I discussed the importance of taking matters into our own hands. This involves recognizing our agency and power to influence our lives. It's about understanding that while we cannot control everything, we control our actions and reactions. This empowerment is crucial in overcoming feelings of helplessness and taking proactive steps towards healing and growth. And again, sidebar, sometimes you need medical assistance. You can't always just do this by yourself. Not everybody's equipped emotionally, and depending on how many years you've been dealing with these struggles, a lot of times it's mandatory for recovery. For those affected by parental alienation or grief, taking matters into their own hands might mean seeking legal counsel, engaging in support groups, or advocating for themselves and their children. It's about refusing to be passive victim of circumstances and instead actively shaping one's destiny. This is action right here, and I love being part of it. The importance of self-care and boundaries. Another critical aspect of recovery is the practice of self-care and setting boundaries. Self-care is not selfish. It's a necessary component of healing. It involves taking time to nurture oneself, whether through physical care, emotional support, or spiritual practices. Setting boundaries is equally important as it protects our well-being and prevents further harm. In my work, I often see individuals struggling with the concept of boundaries, especially when dealing with family dynamics. However, maintaining healthy boundaries is a form of self-respect and is an essential step in reclaiming one voice and narrative. Living your legacy, the 7th stage of grief. In my framework for understanding grief, I have added an additional stage beyond the traditional 5 stages of grief introduced by Dr. Kubler-Ross: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, which we all know very well. The 6th stage, finding meaning, introduced by David Kessler, offers a way to make sense of loss and create a new narrative around it. Building upon this, I have introduced the 7th stage of grief, which is living your legacy. Living your legacy goes beyond finding meaning. It's about taking actionable steps to honor the values, lessons, and memories of those we have lost. It involves making conscious choices to embody these values in our daily lives and contribute positively to the world around us. This stage is not just a reflection on the past, but a proactive creation of the future. It asks us to consider what we want our legacy to be and how we can live in a way that reflects impact we wish to leave behind. This stage acknowledges the pain of loss, because there is pain, but encourages a transformative journey. It is a call to rise above the sorrow, to find strength in our experience, and to live in a way that honors both our journey and our loved ones we remember. It's an active engagement with life where we choose to be the authors of our own story, shaping them with intention and purpose. Conclusion: empowering through narrative. As we conclude this chapter, I want to emphasize the transformative power of narrative and choice. Whether facing parental alienation, grief, or any other life-changing life challenge, the act of speaking out and choosing one's path is empowering. It is through these actions that we can build new chapters in our lives, each one more authentic and fulfilling than the last. Living your legacy means actively choosing to honor the lessons and values imparted by those who have influenced us. It means using our voice to advocate for ourselves and others. Breaking free from the silence and creating a future that reflects our deepest truths. Final thoughts. An invitation to empowerment. I'm speaking now is not just a narrative, it's an invitation. An invitation to choose and to live your legacy that honors the past while boldly stepping into the future. This chapter is a call to recognize our power, take ownership of our narrative, and participate actively in our healing and growth. As a certified end-of-life coach, I want to disclose that while I offer guidance and support, I am not a medical physician. My role to provide a compassionate space for individuals to explore their emotions and choices, helping them navigate life's transitions with clarity and purpose. In closing, remember that you have the power to speak, to choose, and to create a life that honors your truth and legacy. Your voice matters, your choices matter, and your legacy is a testament to your strength and resilience. So let us embrace the invitation to speak now, to live boldly, and to shape our future with courage and grace. Now, I'll give you a little bit more background. Again, it's very dynamic and convoluted, and I could make 10 stories out of my one story. But I just want to tell you that for me, when I did some research, I found out more about myself only in the last couple years, and it made sense. So, I was that girl that wanted to take her life and actually attempted it as well. Except I took like an acid pills when I thought it was something that would kill me. So, I'm still alive, thank God.
All right,
And
don't do
I
that
did.
again without my permission. It's a good thing you didn't cry because I was going to scream at you.
And
I didn't do
it's like,
that.
and it's like when you could go back to being that kid, right? You have these feelings that you feel worthless, you feel shame, there's like some sort of secret going on, all these things, and psychological abuse. And for me, a lot of psychological abuse, not all of it, because I also had verbal psychological abuse used against. So I'll tell you my story, but I call it and I haven't heard anybody talk about this, and I didn't write about this either because it came to me like while we were all doing this after the book was already published. But psychological abuse by omission. I don't know if anybody spoke on that, but there for me that really resonates. There was so much psychological abuse by omission, which really is like for me that's a big one because the not knowing, the not telling, or knowing that they know and they're not telling you, that kind of stuff, that kind of omission,
That's
you
just
know, or even
psychological
in
communication.
there you
It's
go, you know.
communication. Yep.
There you go, you know. So in my case, I'll just give a little bit of my convoluted story, but I'll dive into a little bit of the research and how are we doing on time. I think we're doing good on time, and I could wrap it up just in time
We are
for the
actually.
panel.
I'm
So
very proud of us. We're running ahead.
yay! That's what happens when you talk a mile a minute. So, my story begins when I was an infant. And I didn't know this, even though there was a lot of stuff in the middle that affected the dynamics of the family, the relationship between my mother and my grandmother, the relationship between my mother and my father, the relationship with my mother and me. It was all affected. That's when it becomes dynamic and convoluted. Again, all the not knowing and knowing of the of the omissions, knowing that I'm not being told on purpose, stuff like that. So only a few years ago, approximately 5 years, 6 years or so, I found out that as and I'm still not officially knowing because my father, he acts like he really doesn't remember exactly, but it just happens to be a coincidence that my grandmother came to America just for a stopover the day I was born. And I know for a fact, because this was confirmed by everybody, that I did live my first I closer to 2 years with my grandmother without my mom. And I only found that out a few years ago. And again, I could talk about this like all day long because there's so many layers how this affected that. Hold on, I just want to close the door because okay, I'm back. There are so many layers to this, but for me, going back to the root of the problem was key, and I'm going to share that today. And maybe during the panel, I could express my other feelings and discoveries along the way. If it's apropos, if the topic comes up or the discussion, is appropriate. But my discovery of this a few years ago, all of a sudden, it was like, even though I knew like, I had a lot of messed up stuff and I didn't know, was it just me? What's going on? Again, then you start to have feelings of like, I just don't want to live anymore, and not really knowing why I'm feeling this way because I went to peer when I was 16 and, you just really don't know why. You just know that you're not feeling good about yourself, and then as you get older, you could start to make sense of some stuff. But about 5 to 6 years ago, there's still unopened pieces. And again, in my book, I share another chapter called Wonderful Let Goes that I didn't know if I was going to have time to get into, but I could just discuss on the cuff, during the panel, if apropos. But about, some things you just might never know, some things you might never know. But going back to the root of me being removed. And again, I went to a country that was so far, and back then there was no communication like there is now. There was no video calls or cell phone calls. Calling was real expensive. You barely even did it. And if you did get the call across the world, it was a relay effect. And again, I was a baby, so I didn't bond with my mom, basically, and then I had to rebond with her when I came back to her, which I found out only a few years ago. I didn't want to be back with her. I didn't know that. They didn't tell me this. I knew I had been with my grandmother as a little girl. I didn't know that it was for that. I thought it was just like a visit, like, oh, I went to Uruguay to visit, like vacation. So for most of my life, I thought I went to Uruguay just to vacation, like with my family. I didn't know that I went without my family. Me and my sister were separated. I don't know why that either. And again, that I do know why, but I do and I don't, because it was about like, the two sets of parents for whatever reason didn't, one was on one side of the road and the other one, like just they never connected well. So they separated me and my sister, even though we were in the same town. And then I ended up, as an infant, till almost a couple of years with my grandmother. And then when I came back, I found out again as a full-blown adult, that, I was already a grandmother when I found out that I did not want to go back with my mother at that age. And I did, and we did have, and that's why I feel like I had a double life, because we did, and I don't have memory of that because I was so little, but so much made sense. And when I went back to the root of the problem, and I went to Stanford University. I like to give official resources. The Department of Psychology in the Stanford School of Humanities and Sciences. I did some research, and they talk about these few things that, in hindsight, for me, just like made so much sense. Emotional development, when a baby does not bond with its mother, okay, emotional development, a lack of bonding with the mother can hinder a child's emotional development. Infants rely on their mothers for emotional regulation and support. Without this bond, they may struggle with understanding and managing their own emotions, leading to issues like anxiety and depression later in life. Number two, attachment issues. Oh, yeah, I resonated with this. Again, not now, I'm in recovery. However, this totally is like, all these are me. Check, check, check. Attachment issues. Children who do not form a secure attachment with their mothers may develop attachment disorders. And people will say, again, this double life syndrome I have, right? I had rather, because, people see me that know me, right? My friends that know me. Well, what are you talking about? You and your mother have a great relationship. You worked together for over 30 years. What are you talking about? No, that's it's deeper than that. Attachment issues, cognitive delay. I was taking reading comprehension at 16 years old. You know how embarrassing that is? It's so embarrassing. And it's silly to be embarrassed of that, but it was
Well, I think
embarrassing.
that's
Besides that,
amazing because I remember when you said to me many years ago that English is my second language.
so I didn't learn English till I was like 6. So I
I
did
was
learn
like,
English on Sesame Street.
wow,
You are. This is
wow.
correct. Good old Sesame Street.
I like getting you laughing. I hate to see you upset and crying.
Ah, I'm emotional. You're right. Laughing is so much better. Laughing is so much better. But I'm
But
definitely an
crying is
emotional person.
important. We learned that from Inside Out. And if you watched Inside Out 2, I encourage everybody that seeks any form of mental healing or mental health to watch Inside Out on Disney, and be sure right now to watch Inside Out
Oh, I
2.
love it. Love that
It is
movie.
Wow,
Did you
that's a.
watch Inside Out 2?
Yes. Yep. In fact, I
Oh
have a
no,
group
I
called
haven't.
Inside Out
I was
podcast.
asking our daughter, like, who, who's this? Who's that? That's embarrassment, 7 foot tall. But go
Yeah.
ahead, Patty, go ahead. You're
No,
still running
I'm
ahead.
glad.
You're doing
I'm
good.
glad. Well, I'm almost wrapping it up here. I'm pretty good here. Thank you, Marty, and thank you for that recommendation, because if it's kid friendly too. Is it kid friendly
Mhm.
also?
Oh
Oh,
gosh, it's
great.
It's
Disney.
a
It's a
Pixar,
it's
I
a
believe.
cartoon.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I can't. I love Disney. I can't believe that went over my
Disney and
head. I did
Pixar, one
not
of those.
see it. I did not see it or hear about it. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's so
Inside Out.
cool.
That's wonderful. So cognitive delay, and again, I'm not a doctor. This is just my own personal research on Stanford University. Cognitive delay, the early bonding experience is crucial for cognitive development. Like, who would think that, right? Without it, children may experience delays in language, problem solving abilities, overall cognitive functions, which can impair their academic performance and self-esteem. And I remember, going, I was, my grades were so horrific, that, I almost didn't graduate, and I really didn't, and they had to have like a big conference, and one of the English teachers, I had gotten an F, and she made it a D so I could graduate, and it was, and that's that I went to vocational school, and that was like half of my grade, and the other half that was academic, was so terrible that it was not allowing me to graduate. But they realized that I was doing well in vocational school, so they pushed me through and they let me graduate. But I'm telling you, when I read this, I'm like, wow. I never would think that a baby not bonding with their mother can cause these effects. And it just made so much sense to me. I remember going to my guidance counselor, naive and ignorant, just wanting to achieve stuff in life. And I actually thought I could go to college. And she goes, your grades are not good enough for college. My guidance counselor told me that. So it was very
Yeah, they told Albert Einstein he was stupid. Told his
I
mother
know,
that
I
he's
can't believe it.
actually stupid in school and he should be taken out.
I remember reading that, and
Stupid
I can't believe it still affects
Albert
me.
Einstein, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well,
look
now,
at look at these people like you today. Look at raped, and I mean, for Corin to come up on stage for the earth to hear how her own father sexually abused her until the age of 14.
just crazy.
It's
You
sickening. And then
overcome.
she's a therapist now. And then same thing with Dr. Elise this morning. She's like, I was a runt on the streets and in trouble all the time, a complete wreck. And now look at her. She's a PhD doctor. And look at Patty.
Now
This is your second book, and you're already a
well,
#1 bestseller worldwide.
so that,
You move
like,
fast, girl.
yeah, so like this book means more to me than you can imagine. And also, Marty, I get my certificates. I go to the Harvard classes because I just want to prove it to myself that I could do it. I just want to prove it to myself. So I take
That's
these.
right.
It could be a community college and it would be just as good, but it's for my own personal gratification. And then the behavioral problems. Infants who lack a strong bond with their mothers are at higher risk to develop behavioral issues that may exhibit aggression, withdrawal, or problematic behaviors as they struggle to express their emotions and seek attention and affection. Now, let me tell you this. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. And again, I'm like recovered. This is 100 years ago. It's another life of mine, but it's the truth. When I read this again, I could check all these marks. I was the girl at the dean's office for having fist fights. Yes, this girl. Okay. I was the girl who would go to the dean's office for cursing out the F-bomb to my teachers. This
Wow.
girl. I was very, very quick to, react. Now I respond, which is great. But, again, going back to the root of the problem, really, really matters, and that's why these conversations are just so important because that's how recovery starts. Physical health risks. The absence of maternal bonding can lead to stress and increased risk of health issues. Chronic stress in early life can negatively affect physical health. Now, I believe Dr. Elise spoke on that. And I when I was younger, I did have some issues. But thank God, I'm good and knock on wood, healthy. But I just wanted to point these things out, because this is like, Stanford University, so this is real stuff here, and this is just infants not bonding with their mothers, and I am that person. Researchers has also demonstrated adverse effects as early trauma on children's psychological functioning, including higher rates of depression, anxiety, and externalizing or action out behaviors. Yes, yes, and yes. And this is the part that I'm really excited to read. Okay, because it really resonates with this book. Research with previously institutionalized children indicate that children can recover from the adverse effects of trauma when they return to family settings. With that, I'm complete. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be able to speak
I'm
now.
doing the Dawn high five.
High five.
All of
Love
us.
that.
It's a way for us to touch each other.
Sheen, we got the tissues out.
Oh my goodness, Patty, you touched our hearts. Truly, I don't think there was a dry eye and touched our minds with opening up such an awareness on so many levels. I mean, I didn't ever hear of omission being a part of this, and I hope
Well,
the people
I'll
who
give you a
watch
little
it,
bit more. So I'll give you a little bit more because again, it wasn't just about my separation.
yeah,
So while I was separated, my paternal grandpa, who was divorced from my grandma, who I was living with, and she was remarried to, I didn't find out my grandpa wasn't my paternal my biological grandpa. Was in grade school. It wasn't like I found that out as an adult. You know, that was it was very that was not a big secret because my grandmother wanted to make sure that everybody hated my grandpa. Just because you know, it seems to be he might have like fallen in love with somebody else. I'm not even sure, to be honest, because it again, it's the omission. It's just see, I still get a little agitated. I still get a little agitated. However, I know that I was not able to see my grandpa, so I couldn't imagine like not being able to see my granddaughter who lived in when I was in the country there. You know, I lived real close by, just blocks away, really, and I was not allowed to see my grandpa. And then you could imagine the effects it took on my father, and then my father, and he allowed me to speak a little bit about this. I did get his permission, but it really he still cries over it. Even only a couple of weeks ago, he cried about it because you know, he did his best to stay connected to his father, but my grandma lived till 96. So there was always a wedge. It was always a wedge. It was always a wedge, and the guilt and the all that stuff that we talked about today. And my grandpa had I call it a half brother, but a brother. You know, his father had a child with another woman, so it was his brother. You call him a half brother, but it's his brother. And you know, I was taught that he was like my half uncle, but you know, really, it's my uncle. So you know, he took his life at a young age. And I believe this had a lot to do with it. I believe this had a lot to do with it because my father still mourns his brother. He's still I get emotional about it too because when you see your dad cry, you know, so
Mhm.
it's so dynamic. It's so dynamic. So and then you know, and then it kept becoming generational. So I'm speaking now is stopping a generational curse. And I just want to say that, you know, I am a street teacher, not a preacher. I do come from a Christian perspective because God I use as my anchor, but I do like to teach non-denominational. I just use God as a reference point because I believe we all need an anchor, whatever it is to you. But God is my solitude, it's my anchor. But whatever it is to you. So I am not a preacher, I'm a street teacher, but I teach from testimony. And now I'm complete. Thank you so much, everybody. I did have a little poem that I meant to I meant I have this I had this as a footnote, and it's really quick, but it is a poem I wrote because like I said, I think we all need an anchor, and I found God to be my anchor. So this is a poem I read, but I think even though I'm using God as my anchor here in this poem, I think we could all resonate with this on some level. And I wrote this during times of despair, and somehow I light was shone upon me, and I was able to get out of it. Can you see me, God? Can you hear me? Can you whisper in my ear everything's going to be all right? Can you hold me in your arms like a child being held in his or her mother's bosom? Wait, here you are, in my breath that gives me life. Thank you, God, for this human experience. Poem, Patty.
Oh, that was so beautiful, Patty.
Yeah.
I loved how you delivered that and all the things that you were talking about. It's can relate to so much of it. I mean, we could spend another hour just talking about the bits and pieces that we can connect the dots to. Thank you though for sharing your story. It's such a powerful story and being part of our book and being part of this movement and stepping in and helping to keep this conference going. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys have really saved the day. I'm just so happy to sit here now and be able to be here and just watch how successful you guys have made today. So you rock. Love you guys. Man,
And what a day. And Dawn's
what a day.
back.
And I'm back. For sure. And I see
Thank you,
Elise
Dawn.
is
You're
joined us.
amazing. Dawn,
Yeah.
you empowered us though. You empowered us and this was what it's about. It's like now when we have a voice, darkness cannot take away light. Light could take away darkness, but darkness cannot take away light. And now we brought light, so it's not going away.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks for reminding me of that, because something that Jeff said, I wish I was on camera because you guys would have seen me reacting. But when he said something about the hurricane came in the night and then there was the
That's
dawn.
right. He did.
I just about fell apart when he said that. That was just such a perfect way
There
of
were
putting
so
it.
many unbelievable moments today. Look, Dr. Elise went to bed and is back up. Good morning,
Good
Dr.
morning.
Elise. I'll make you breakfast.
Oh my
I am flying to Australia and making breakfast.
I'm going too then.
I know how to cook, actually,
Oh.
men that can cook. So
Hmm.
I have a
I
black
had an
shirt
hour
with
and a half
huge-
sleep, and I got to hear the rest of Patty's speech. So
Aw.
that was so beautiful. I'm so happy that I got up in time to hear the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, Patty. Very heartfelt. And I was thinking that you and I probably would have been hanging around together at school outside the
Yeah.
principal's office. So
Did anyone else want to come up on stage now from the attendees? There's a dozen people over there that would like to come up for the panel, Dawn.
Especially the speakers. And I think, and I don't see it now, but I know that somebody had a question from
Yeah,
earlier.
Brandy might want to come up.
I think it
Dana, it
was
says Dana is
Bethany.
on, although she might be on by phone.
I think Bethany had a question earlier. I don't know if someone captured it, but Bethany, if you want to put that question back in chat, because I can't see it, maybe others can.
Sasheen.
But yeah, let's bring on especially the speakers, and then we can
Okay,
see
here
how
they
the
come.
Q&As go.
There you are, Sasheen.
Truly.
Can
Power
someone
of
help me?
breath.
I can't get Ashlyn in. It's not giving me the option. Can someone else help me add her?
Marty
There we
or
go. Got
Patty?
it.
Okay.
She's here.
good.
Hey, Don, can you add me too?
You're in. You're just not on camera.
Oh,
It might be hiding you if you're not on camera. So that might be.
uh-oh.
Okay, I got Ashlyn in, and
I think
Brandy's
that's
here.
all the speakers for now.
Brandy,
Looks like everybody
Dawn. Okay.
got Dana.
Yeah, my
You see him?
camera is still off.
Hmm.
Do you want to come back in, Brandy? Leave and come back in?
Okay, let me try that.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes that wakes it up.
Mhm.
God, I'm scared. I'm the only guy here.
That's okay. We'll be kind to you, Marty.
Where's Andrew?
We'll be kind to you.
What if I say the wrong thing? I'll be killed.
Holy
Oh.
moly.
no, tortured first.
Okay. You sound like me,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
play War and Order, and I portray a female knight, and I talk during the game about putting men on a roasting spit, and we turn them while they scream for 2 hours over the flames. And people
Wow.
are like, "What is wrong with you? You're
Oh
a
my
guy.
goodness.
What are you talking about?"
Could we
You
do?
crack up.
I know, right? Could we do a real quick recap for Elise on the day? On anybody? I mean, I just would like to start off. Anybody share their favorite moment of the day to kind of give her some ideas of what has transpired? Because man, there's so many great things while you were sleeping.
Yeah, while I was sleeping for
Dot, dot,
2.5
dot.
hours. 2 hours I think I've had.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. So who
Oh
would
my
like to
goodness.
start?
There were so many. I'll throw out some of the incredible stories, Elise, and recognizing this is such a larger issue, global issue, but problem that I've never ever encountered the magnitude, I guess. Maybe that's it. We touched on different topics on, yes, how the psychological can affect a person physically. And I'm trying to remember, Sasheen, I think that was one of your concerns. It affected you physically, and Brandy, your talk just of the heart as well, with how a narcissist, how it can affect you and change life in there, and Patty with the omission, just various different segments. We spoke on supporting each other in different groups, seeing that even though they got the support, but it definitely wasn't enough. And the court systems and the judicial systems needing to elevate what they're doing, recognizing that the voices of the children, but of the people who have had the experiences, it just validated that. I think the best way is purchase the book. Where's the book? Someone hold up the book. Purchase the book. And it's like we want more. There we go. Yes. Warning. Children are not weapons. And it just spoke clearly as the day went on, as people unfolded with their stories, recognizing, and you know what? I guess we cannot totally blame society or totally blame the government or the law enforcement, because they don't know what they don't know. And we're here to enlighten them, to share with them things need to change, and it takes that voice. But look at Dr. Childress had just really nailed it and shared so much value. And it goes to show how much that this is not just about people telling stories. This is truly educational. It is laced with resources, laced with people truly with making sure that they have the credentials to be speaking as well as the experience. And I'm going to let other people talk. So Dawn, you control now.
Well, yeah, there's so many things that it could literally take us all through the night until tomorrow to talk about all of the different nuggets, but there were so many nuggets that were shared.
And Dawn, I just want to say, like, this is the first time that you and I have actually been in the room together. Last night you were still sort of doing the hurricane thing, and you weren't able to join us in the room, and now you're joining us in the room. So for me, for the first time speaking about this conference all year long, for me it's a really special moment that I'm actually in the room with you. So
Aww.
I love
Yeah,
you.
for me
I
too.
just wanted to
I
tell
love you
you.
too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a year this has been.
What a year.
And,
real.
and the belief you've had in me in wanting to do this, because a lot of times when I get these crazy ideas of putting on a conference, I have people tell me, oh, you're not gonna be able to do that. It's impossible. And I'm like, it's not hold my beer, it's hold my fireball, right? I'll be right back.
That is what, Dawn,
And you know what, Dawn? Yeah.
Watch me. Yeah.
I wanted to say, Dawn, you know what? This has been truly amazing because I've ran in so many different arenas, and children, as much as as parents, advocates, professionals, as many people who have been speaking for the children, saying they need help, the voices we have not heard was from the children. And the fact that we lived that experience as children, we felt that isolation, that confusion. We unsilenced so many children voices that they are still being abused, but they are no longer silent because we're speaking for them. We lived decades of this abuse, and we're letting everybody know no more. No more
Yeah.
Be their
abuse for
voice.
these children. So thank you, Don, because I didn't even think about that. With everything I'm going through and fighting for my children, I still haven't heard the voice of my children. And you all on this panel have spoken for my children that I haven't even heard. And that's why we're here. That's why this is the time to do it, because now our children are speaking through us. So thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Wow. I
Thank
think
you
I'll
for being
clap
here.
that.
Brandy.
Brandy, another perla, another one.
A high
Whole
five.
string of them. I've got a whole like necklace of your little pearly gems now. Like you just
And you
got
can now,
so
you
much
can
I think
also,
it's important. I want to add to what Brandy said is that we are the voice until they can find theirs. Like we want to
Yes.
speak for them only while they can't speak for themselves. But when they can find their voice, we want them to own it. We want them to hear and support and know that they're not alone. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of all of us here today, speaking on behalf of all the little children around the world who are currently going through this, all of the other survivors that have gone through it and they don't realize what's happened to them yet, and all of the
Yeah.
other survivors who know that something has happened, they just don't know how to identify it, and they don't know that there's other people out here. So they're not alone, and that's why we're getting louder. We were silenced. We were told to be silent. We were told take stuff down. That's why we've adopted the "nothing about us without us" in our conference mantra, because we want to be part of the conversation. We want to be heard, and we can contribute a lot. We have a lot of love to share for the children out there right now. So thank you all for being here, and thank you to our guests who are here as well.